Next is HOA fees. What I love knowing everything up front on the table. When you purchase in a condo, you have monthly maintenance. Sometimes they say your monthly assessment, sometimes it's just your HOA fees. Usually it's paid quarterly, but it literally tells you everything that HOA fee covers every single month, and then everybody knows. Look, everything is covered except your electric, your taxes, and if you have a mortgage. It's a no-brainer. Now you know, and it's easy to figure out what you owe each month. Now, I will tell you something. I had a listing and a buyer's agent showed up, and the buyers were so lovely and they were so excited. They were getting financing. They were so excited about purchasing the property. Anyway, they had their pre-approval. We were all good. And then about a week later, the listing agent calls me. She's so upset. She said that when the mortgage lender calculated how much buying power they had with their pre-approval letter, he didn't factor in the $785 monthly HOA fee, which then no longer allowed them to purchase in the price point of this property, and they had to cancel the deal. So really, really important lesson learned. When you get an offer and it has a pre-approval letter, the first thing I do is I call that lender and I say, and it was kind of a rookie mistake because most people know, but I call that lender and I let them know, hey, listen, this is the property, look up the condo, make sure that you have all the proper information, and this is what the monthly HOA is. And that's a really important number to know, because I can't tell you how many times you go to the MLS and the HOA is wrong. So for example, let's just say there's a listing that's been on the market for, 8 months. There might have been an increase in the HOAs, but yet that listing agent didn't go back and change it. And when you're inputting your listings, you want to call the HOA office and you want to get the most updated HOA number. And then obviously you put it into the MLS on a monthly basis, even though they're paid quarterly. But that's one of the biggest mistakes I see. But what's really nice is, especially for, maybe like a first-time home buyer or somebody who, is just starting out, a family or a single person, they know, and it's predictable. They know this is what I have, this is what I'm going to spend, and they know what's covered in it. So very, very important when you're listing properties. Number 7 is assessments, and I love this because now buyers like to throw around this word all the time. Oh, any assessments? Any upcoming assessments? What's an assessment? I'm like, what's an assessment? So a lot of people are under the impression that the condos will assess them constantly, which is not the case, because when you have the budget, condos will budget out for what they know is coming. So an assessment essentially is some type of a repair that the building has to do that they didn't plan. All of a sudden, about maybe 6 or 7 of the buildings where I work on Singer Island, they were all getting seawalls. They didn't plan for it. It wasn't budgeted, so it became an assessment. Some of the building took money from the reserve, and the reserve is a portion of those monthly HOA fees go into the reserve, and then the balance gets assessed to all the owners. So if you live in a condo that only has 28 units, obviously, if there's $1 million assessment now, then that gets divided by 28 units. If it's a $1 million assessment and you live in a building with 240 units, then that's going to be a much smaller assessment. But the buildings budget out. So, for example, if the building wanted to paint, if they needed to change the roof, if they needed to pave, those things they know are coming. So an assessment's just something that is kind of unforeseen. So when you're showing buyers, what you'll want to know is what assessments have been done. And when I'm showing my listings and people ask me that question, my response is, I tell them what the building's been done. If the building's over a certain age, then it has to go, then you have to keep it up to code. But I always tell them, if you see a condo and they say, we've had no assessments, and they're so proud of that, you bet they're going to be coming, because, after, that 30, 40 year mark, we've got assessments coming up in some of my buildings where they have to replace the elevators. That's going to, come out of pocket. So it's one of those things. It's not scary as long as you're knowledgeable and you explain to people what's been done, what is upcoming, and on the contract. This is key. So sometimes the assessments can be paid in full, and then other times they could be broken up and paid in installments. So when you're working with a buyer and you're filling out the condo rider, I always check the box for my buyer, any assessments paid in full at closing, which means that if they have any assessments that they're paying off in installments that would come after the closing, they have to pay everything off. So now my buyer gets a condo that's clean and paid up to the date of closing. Otherwise, it becomes something to negotiate. If and that it's a big thing, and it's something that you really want to make yourself aware of as a listing agent. If there is something, you need to disclose it. I will tell you, in one of the buildings that I work, I've sold a lot of units in this building. They had an assessment, and those owners were allowed to take out what's called an SBA loan. So the building took it out. You didn't have to pay it all, pay the assessment all up front because it was big, and then the owners just paid an extra $200 a month on top of their HOA fees. So with my sellers, I said, you have to pay this off at closing. You can't just let this $200 loom on for the next 5 years with the new buyer, and they agreed. I had a girlfriend of mine, her buyers bought in that building. She was not aware of the SBA loan. The listing agent that sold the condo did not disclose the SBA loan. The box on the contract was checked. It was checked where seller pays everything up to closing, buyer pays everything after closing, and her buyers got stuck. And they were pissed because they didn't find out. And then I guess they had an accountant just paying everything. And then they got pissed, and she called me up because she knew I did a lot in the building. And I'm like, how do you not know this? Like whenever I get listings in that building, I always ask the office, is there an SBA loan? Has the SBA loan been paid off? And then I know, so I can kind of factor that in, and I can, let my seller know. Next, amenities. This is one of my favorite because this is really what you're selling when people are buying a condo. They want a lifestyle. They want to just, either if they're retiring or just have this amazing, luxurious place to live. So I've had buyers that say, listen, I really need a lap pool. I swim laps. I swim every day. I want a lap pool. Or I've had buyers that say, I want a tennis court. We're big tennis players. Some buildings have restaurants in them. A gym. Some people don't want to work out in some dungy little gym. They want to have nice equipment. And all goes into your monthly HOA fees. So if you're looking at the buildings, you want, to really show off the amenities. So if you're working with buyers, you know what? You really want to do that great tour and show you got to sell not only the condo, but you're also selling the amenities. And that is really huge. If the listing agent is meeting them, some are lazy. You have to say, can you show me all the amenities? We want to see the pool. We want to see the access, to the parking garage. We want to see what the social room looks like. You want to see all of those things. And it's so important because this is truly a huge factor in people deciding to trade off maybe some space and trade off some of their lifestyle in a single family home and move into barbecues. Where are the barbecues? Everybody loves to barbecue. Some of my buildings actually don't have barbecues. And I just always say, I said, listen, you can get an electric Weber and put it on your balcony. And that usually solves that problem. But as I live in a condo, we've lived in 5 condos just in South Florida now where we live, and we lived in condos in Canada. So it kind of gives me that little extra insider information that I can share on how to do things. Okay, so now you're sitting here going, okay, Michelle, thank you for all the mindset information and things that we have to keep in our mind. Well, how the hell are we going to start selling condos? So let's start with some ways that you could break into the condo market, whether you want to kind of make this your niche in your already existing business, or you want it to be your focal point. I kind of put together some ideas how you can get in without spending your money. I had an unlimited amount of money for marketing. That would be fabulous. But these were just some ways to kind of break into it that were cost effective, kind of like how I had to do it. So one, introduce yourself, figure out, let's just start off small, and you pick an area and there's, maybe 5 condos on one street or something, or maybe in my market, I sell a 4 mile island, right? We've got maybe 20 buildings on it. So I work the whole island. Maybe you pick 5 that you really love. I would choose ones that you would see yourself living in. It's easier to sell something that you love, Like it's really hard for me to sell this one community up in Jupiter because I hate it. I would never live here. It's like the Edward Scissorhands kind of a community. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go there. So, but selling condos, I love. So find buildings that you would see yourself living in, so it's easier to be excited about sharing them. And go there. Go meet the people that work in these buildings. Meet the office manager. Meet the property manager. Meet the maintenance men. Oh my God, my maintenance men in the condo that I live in, they know more about me and my life than I think my husband does. Like these are the eyes inside the building. The house cleaners that come. These people know our innermost secrets, living in a condo, and you're going to want to be friendly with them because you know what? When you start working in the building, they all have to work with you, especially the people in the office. The people that, the property managers, the office managers, all they deal with are people going in there to bitch and complain. Oh, the pool's too cold, or oh, somebody's in my parking spot, or rah, rah, rah. It's over and over. So when you go in there and you're like nice, happy sunshine, introducing yourself, they're like, oh, what, you tell them why you're there. I'm Michelle. I'm a real estate agent. I do business on, in the building, and I just wanted to introduce myself. It is so nice and it is so refreshing. I know every single one of my people in the offices on my building, and I purposely stay and chat with them. I know all the guys that work at the gates. When I pull up, they don't even ask me why I'm there anymore, and they just let me in because I've taken the time to let them know me. My husband, sometimes he'll come up with me to the listings, especially when want him doing stuff I don't want to do. And I pull up to the gate and I chit chat and I say hi and I make some jokes. My husband's like, why do you always have to? And I said, Paul, I'm telling you, because then they remember me. I pull up and they're like, oh, hey, what's up, Michelle? Hey, how are you? And they're happy to see me. The people in the office, when you hand them your HOA application, and the lease, and you're calling them for information, they're happy to hear from you. And I will tell you this, I've gotten so much business from people that work in the building, maintenance and office managers, because some of the owners don't know who the realtors are, and they'll say, hey, I want to sell my place. Oh, here, call Michelle. Here, call Michelle. Here, call Michelle. And then the same thing with the maintenance staff. I've gotten a ton of business because they like to see me. They want to see me around. So that's what I did. Just be bloody nice. That pretty much my be nice. Be a nice person. You have no idea how far it will get you to be a nice person. When you go over there, residents that live in condos, they will spot you out so fast when you don't live there. Most people know. So when you're there, be seen, be remembered, introduce yourself. You're in the elevator. Hey, how are you? Say, chit chat with people. Oh, yeah, no, I know you. People recognize me when I go around now. They're like, oh, yeah, no, I know you. You're Michelle, or I get your flyers, or so they know. So my recommendation would be, if there's buildings, when there's listings in the buildings where you want to work, go make appointments, go preview those, get in there, ride the elevator, go in there, introduce yourself to the office, go walk around those condos, go learn the building for yourself and see the amenities, be there, be seen, and residents will remember you. And then, it's almost like then when you have business in that building, they're, oh, okay, we know you, I've seen you, I see you, and you've already kind of gained some trust and some, they remember who you are. Also, message boards and Facebook groups are great. I post a lot on social media. I've created my own Facebook groups So if I'm selling, let's say, condos in the Reaches building, I started my own Reaches Facebook group, and then I post new listings, I post stuff to it. People moving to South Florida, ex-plants from California. Like, there's a ton of Facebook groups that you can post either listings on, or go to your KV Core and make a squeeze page, and then start to just show yourself as knowledgeable and what's going on in the area. Join them and just make sure you follow the rules. If it's not, you're not the admin for that group. Next is, yay, Michelle, you did it. You taught us how to get our first new listing, and now we have it. Okay, wonderful. What do you do? Now you've got a listing in one of the buildings that you want to work in. This unit here, I've sold this unit twice now. I sold it to, I was the buyer's agent the first time, then she wanted to sell it about a year later, and then I was the listing agent for this condo. And it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite views where I work. So yay, now you have your first new listing. What do you do? Well, you want to go to the HOA office and you want to get the rules and regulations, and you want to get the HOA application. And what I would recommend doing is posting that on the MLS under documents. So this way it's there and you have it. So when the agent, the buyer's agent comes to you and says, hey, we want to make an offer, you want to have that ready for them to get, and you want to say, hey, listen, go under documents, make sure your buyers are aware of all the rules and regulations in the building. That's really important. Let the office know you have a new listing. Some of the condos, what they'll do is they'll send out an email blast to all of the owners saying, hey, listen, unit 601 is coming on the market, and they let the residents know first, and they will even say who the listing agent is. So that's really important. You want the office to know, hey, I'm working actively in the building and I have a new listing. And then when you come to showings, you want to know what the building's rules are for showings. Are you allowed to use a lockbox? Do you have to accompany the showings? Are there time restrictions? Can you do an open house? Now, I know for me, and we'll get into this, I always accompany my showings. I never, ever use a lockbox, okay? However, I do know that some of my buildings that I work in, they don't allow showings after 4 p.m., and some don't allow showings on the weekend. Some don't allow open houses. And I'm like, hell yeah, I don't want to work after 4. I don't want to work on the weekend, and I don't want to do open houses anyway. So that ties back into why I love working condos, and why my business so ties in nicely with my lifestyle. But these are really important, and these are things that you're going to want to know. So showing your condo listings. Now, as I just mentioned, accompanying showings. I really truly believe you need to accompany, I don't care what you're selling, I believe you need to accompany your showings. You're the salesperson. You're the one that knows the most about the condo. You're the one that's going to engage with the buyer. I have literally had showings where the buyer's been working with another agent, and then over the course of time, they have come to work with me. They just had more confidence in my abilities. It wasn't something that I sought out or seeked, and I would never poach anyone else's business, but it happens. People want to be in the hands of somebody who's knowledgeable and experienced. So I really believe in accompanying all of your showings. You're the one that knows where the parking spot is. You're the one that knows where all the amenities are. You want to give them the tour of a lifetime, and you want to sell that building, and you want to tell them why that building and why this condo is better than everything else that they're looking at. I literally it's like a Disney tour. I mean, we go around, laugh, it's exciting. I've had agents call me and they're like, oh my God, you give the best tours. Like, that was so nice. That's what, buyers, this should be a fun experience. This shouldn't be like a chore. It's like, oh my God, let me show off this amazing asset that I want to sell you, and why you want to live here. So I think that's so key. And you want to sell the lifestyle. While you're showing, it's always great if you bump into people in the building that live there. Because I will tell you something, if those people got in the building, all they're going to do is rave about why that's the best building. So I really believe that you need to accompany your showings. I did have one of my sellers who I absolutely love. And he called me up and he had said, Michelle, my black box? Where's my black? And I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. What is a black box? And he said, the black box. The black box on the door. Where's the black? And I said, oh, you mean like a lock box? I said, I accompany all my showings. I don't use a lock box. And he Mo, you're busy. What if you can't make it? I want a box on my door. So I said, all right, I'll put a box on your door. I never used it, but I guess in his mind, he wanted it there. So, but I stand behind you need to accompany your showings. It's very important in any other aspect of your business. If you're that busy, then you can get somebody who would do that job for you. Like I send my husbands to appraisals and so I'm not going to sit there for a bloody inspection, for an inspection. And I have him do that kind of stuff for me. So